Okay, welcome everyone. I have 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. It's July 29th, and I'm so happy to have you for the AI Advantage, what smart nonprofit leaders do now. I'm Dr. Monica Moody Moore, and on behalf of the company I founded, High Aspirations, it's my pleasure to welcome you here. We do have an hour total time together. We'll make this dynamic and informative. You'll have a chance to ask questions and use the Q&A portion of the chat feature so that you can ask your questions. There's no chat directly, just Q&A. I'll table set and give us a chance to get into a safer space so that we can settle our minds and be ready to learn. First, I want to make clear how and why we did this, even before I introduce our guest speaker today. And she is phenomenal, so I'll set that in advance. But I want to give you a sense of how we got here and why. Not only are the robots coming, yeah, you can say you heard it from me, but we're here to ensure that you have the understanding first, knowledge and exposure and preparation so that you as a leader can make informed decisions. Now, whether you're doing this at work, whether you're in community organizations, or maybe you're just making smart choices for your family, however you choose to apply this information, it is applicable because just like the internet, AI is here and to stay, at least for a longer period of time than I can even see in front of me. So AI will be a part of our natural existence, or so we believe. The question will be, how does this information age over the years to come? We'll be able to look back on this and give a sense on where were we then? Where are we now? What did we learn? And how should we try to go forward, probably differently based on what we learned? So in terms of our time together today, I'll set the agenda, make sure we have clarity about what our intentions are, because intentions do matter. I'll make sure you understand who's presenting to us because she is critically important. This is her intellectual capital and property that we're sharing. Kim asked me if I wanted to have a one-on-one tutorial with her. And while too, I am eager to learn both as a business owner and as someone who has worked in higher education proper for over 20 years, as well as in private industry and stand-up nonprofits, I thought, well, if I'm learning, let me bring some friends along with me, right? So we can all learn and grow and go together. So the objectives for today are to introduce some concepts to you. She'll do a clarification of terms to make sure you have all the definitions you most need. This is not meant to be exhaustive of every single AI possibility that exists in the universe at present. These are some of the examples, and you're welcome to also put into the Q&A if you're using something and you want to pose a question about it. Doesn't mean that we know every single answer over this under the sun, but it does mean that we're highly curious and inquisitive and able to fact find further. So a couple of things, if you want to put your own LinkedIn in the Q&A session, you can, so we can just know who you are. You can add that feature about yourself. And then you can make sure others know you as well. Sometimes people want to be a little more anonymous, but I always love to give options and opportunities. So as I lean in to give you the introduction to Kim D. Clark, let me say that clearly. I want to make sure you know the history of how she and I got introduced. It was over 10 years ago. If you wonder, can friendships come from conferences or presentations? I can raise my hand and say yes. I see Kim smiling as well. We met as I was giving a presentation and she was there bearing witness, but her journey is the most phenomenal because she's done great things. At that time, she was working as an administrator at Salisbury University. Since then, she's gone to University of Maryland, Eastern Shore, moved the needle on retention. Some people wonder, can you actually do those things in a short order? Yes, and Kim can tell you more, lean in with her and get to know her better. She went on to the University of Maryland Eastern Shore and led the retention efforts there, had some substantial improvements that she was able to bring to bear, and then went to Virginia Tech, where she is now leading the Black Cultural Center and also teaching in the business school. So Kim is an adjunct faculty member and she's working on her doctorate, which I'm not shy to say I'm on her dissertation committee, but that's not why she's in front of us. She's actually gone way under the AI hood, started to learn all kinds of impressive things, and was willing to teach. So those who are willing to teach, there are others that are willing to learn. So thank you for joining us today and learning this important information. And AI is critical. Let me make sure you understand why this title should hopefully have meaning by the end of the session. We talk about, even in the title, what smart nonprofit leaders do now. And of course, we're smart, right? Your parents made you that way. But the choice of this word matters, and it matters so much. I want to unpack it for a second, because to have your wits about you, yes, AI can be scary, and especially if you don't know what's under the hood or in Pandora's box. And I can honestly say, none of us fully do know what the future holds, but we can take the directive approach of learning and understanding and utilizing to our best advantage. That's why we call it the AI advantage. While there may be some disadvantages, we want to hone in on what's most important in terms of the advantage. So in doing this work, to be smart, to keep your wits about you, you can strike out nonprofit and put in business leader, government leader, entrepreneur, stay-at-home mom or dad. There's lots of descriptors that could be in there. But as Kim is giving her remarks, and we made it clear that I would only do the surface level of her intro, we do have a link that I'll make sure you have. It's included in the Leave Behind materials as well, so that hopefully you can look her up on LinkedIn and you too can get a new friend for life. So with that said, and with my introduction already 7 minutes in, I want to give it over to Kim D. Clark, our presenter for today from Virginia Tech, to help us learn the AI advantage. Kim, I'll stop sharing and the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm looking forward to sharing some information with you. Monica, thank you for that amazing introduction. You never fail to amaze and just truly give so much information and context that I didn't even really think of. And yes, it has been great getting to know you and knowing you all of these years, and you've made a big impact on my life. So thank you for giving me the floor. Just to give a little bit of context, can everyone see my screen? I think it's pretty visible.
Yes, Kim,
Okay.
it is visible. There's a little that's hanging off of the screen, but it is visible.
Can you see now? Is it all there?
Yeah, some is still hanging. Yes, yes, yes. That is formatted to fit the screen. Yes, thank
Okay.
you.
Perfect. So thank you so much. So just to give a little bit of background too, and you gave such a great introduction, even things that I forgot. I really jumped into AI. I poured into AI because part of being at Virginia Tech, and I teach in the management department in the Pamplin School of Business. And part of that, I wanted to give my students my very best. So while AI is not, it is new, but I mean, it's been talked about for years. And I would say within the last 2 to 3 years, it's really come to the surface. And that's been about the time that I've really been interested and engaged. So for the past 2 years, I started with Chat GPT, as many of us do, and then I became a part of a pilot program called Chat GPT EDU, which several universities across the country, across the world, from Oxford to the Wharton School at University of Pennsylvania, are a part of this pilot group. Some schools have really taken off. We are kind of in the middle of it. So part of being in that pilot group, I really wanted to engage and learn more about AI. Higher ed has had a lot of changes. And so with all of those changes that came along with higher ed, I wanted to change along with it and retool and learn some things that really made sense for what I do, but also really made sense for how to see things forward. My PhD will be in higher ed, and so my focus will be in how to integrate AI in higher ed. So with that, I do want to talk about this webinar, what we're going to do for it's being recorded for those that are not with us today. So I am going to go over some things that are for those here, but then for anyone that watches the webinar later. Again, this is a practical guide for leaders who are not technical. I am semi-technical, so I do have a background because I've self-taught, but I've also taken lots of classes in AI at Virginia Tech and also through colleagues, but I'm going to give the non-technical version. But because I am a teacher, I will go over and talk a little bit about what our goals are for the webinar and then how we're going to move forward with some terms. So, and thank you for that.
And Kim, I have
Yes,
launched the poll, so it
perfect.
is open and active. I want to make
Great.
maybe people can go in and do the poll. The first question, the first two questions in particular about what is your current experience using AI tools, if you're willing to go in and answer that. And the secondary question, what's your biggest concern about using AI at work? Those two questions are open right now, and we'll look back at the end. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And you can please interrupt me and stop. I would love to know what some folks said as I'm going on. It'll help me tailor things a little bit as I'm going along. So again, I'm doing this webinar for those that may have had zero experience with AI to those that may consider themselves super users or expert users. But I do want to clarify some terms. So I'm going to go over some key concepts. With AI, we will explore some real world cases to an extent for as much time as we have. We will explore some practical tools. And I say explore, I have several tools up there to explore. We will not get to all of them, but I did want to just put those down. We will explore to an extent and demo those. And there are handouts that you can take away to look at those on your own. And then I wouldn't be responsible if I didn't give the ethics and responsibilities for those of us that are in leadership and using AI. So I will talk about that at the end. And please, Monica, let me know when the survey's done and I can, just so I can kind of see what people have
Okay.
said. So clarifying terms, AI, hear it all the time right now. People are integrating AI with everything. They're just tacking AI on the way people did when they put gluten-free, you know. So now AI is kind of being this tacked on part. But AI is officially artificial intelligence. I think that's pretty well known, but it really just what that means that it mimics human cognition. So the way we think, how we act, speak, etc., that is what AI is that's really what it was set up to do. So generative AI is generative artificial intelligence, and that was built to create new content. So creating text, images, audio, even video, and is trained from it sees patterns and it gets that from learning training data. I want to bring up a small point as I'm talking about Gen AI with hallucinating. I think some of you that have used AI, especially ChatGPT, or really anything that you may have used, you may have thought, I know when I first started using ChatGPT, I think it was 2.0 when I first started using, and I'm like, it would just tell me anything. Like it couldn't even connect to the internet. And I'm like, it just makes up sites and sources. And then I realized, and then after giving some formal language, the actual term for that is called hallucinating. So AI isn't necessarily making it up or just telling you anything. It's really trying to fill in the gaps. It's being trained on this pattern recognition. So it's just trying to fill in gaps. So it may seem, I mean, it's wrong. Let's be clear, but it's called hallucinating. That is the proper term for if you get something that's kind of considered garbage from AI. The next term I do want just to mention, because this is the future, this is where we're going with AI, is agentic AI. And again, that is already here. It does more than just takes action towards a task. It goes to complete the task. So agentic AI systems, that's something that I'm learning more about now, because it's more than just giving it a prompt and getting it an answer. It'll actually complete the task for you, and it's automated. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in the webinar later. And then the fourth term, ML, machine learning. This is AI learning from data patterns. And so the important thing about that is that these data patterns, they improve over time, and they improve over time without necessarily being programmed or taught. So an example of this, a very small example, would be if you're on any type of e-commerce site, if you're somewhere, and then it'll start advertising to you based on your trend in terms of what your browsing history is. That's kind of machine learning. So the machine is learning you. So that's a small example of a very, very big concept, is machine learning. And then LLMs, which is our large language models. That's what ChatGPT is. That's what Gemini is, Copilot, Claude. And again, it's just advanced training on vast amounts of data. So that's what our LLMs are. And we're going to look at some of those platforms shortly. And then natural language processing. This may not be as much of a common term, but NLPs, those are the way that these large language models can understand, interpret, and kind of generate human language and pretty naturally. If you've ever used Gemini and just kind of talk to it, it sounds very natural. If you use the feature in ChatGPT where you can talk and just have a conversation, that is our NLP. So that is just a natural way that AI can speak with us and understand us as well. So these are some basic generative AI platforms, and I like to kind of equate these to when we first started learning about the internet. We had Bing and Google and Safari. This is kind of the equivalent of that in a very broad, generic way. So these are some of the main platforms, and I have no allegiance to any of these, but ChatGPT, they're just literally listed alphabetically, Claude, Copilot, and Gemini. These are some of the main platforms that I think most folks have used. And Monica, is there any consensus on some that they've used?
Yeah, thank you, Kim. Already I can see a couple of people that have responded. So it says, what is your current experience with AI tools? 25% say that they've experimented a little with AI tools at work. And then 75%, but this is off of a small n, say that I use AI occasionally for specific tasks. So if
Okay.
you just look at the raw data, it looks like, wow, 75% of those already here are saying they use it for a specific task, but there's only a few that have actively participated so far in the poll. So it's a little misleading in terms of the total sample size.
No, that is great to know. So it does give some insight. So one, don't get scared when I show this next slide. These are AI systems charts, and I'm not going to explain each one, but I do have that as a part of a handout that Monica will send those later. I thought it was important, like anything else that's kind of newly starting, just to look at the systems, who the company is, and then the key people and co-founders. There's models, and then there's capabilities, but that's just for you to look at on your own. But I do want to highlight a couple things. What I use ChatGPT for, I use most of these. I use ChatGPT, Claude, and Copilot, probably the most, Microsoft Copilot. ChatGPT, because I'm a part of the pilot, so I actually use ChatGPT EDU, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. Claude is really considered to be more safety focused, more focus on the ethics of how AI is used. And also, I personally feel like Claude does a better job if I'm doing any type of analytics, if I'm making a some type of dashboard or collecting data. I feel like that's a little bit better than GPT. DeepSeek, I was super excited when it first came out. This is China's version of ChatGPT, for lack of a better term. It was made a lot cheaper, a lot quicker. And so it was really exciting when it came out a few months ago. And I have used it. I don't think it's better necessarily, but it is comparable. It is good. Gemini by DeepMind, that's a little bit formal. And then I won't go into all of them, but I will highlight Copilot, because Copilot is what most universities are using that is allowed. So for instance, at Virginia Tech, we are not allowed to use DeepSeek, so we can't even have that on our servers. And Copilot, that is the one system that is allowed across all of the platforms, and most universities are using that. That's pretty much, and I won't go into too much detail, one thing that universities have agreed about. There's not really a lot of AI policy across institutions, but Copilot has been able to kind of reach across the institutions for that. So again, this will be a handout, and you will have that at your um, perusal whenever you get a chance to look at that. And then these two things, again, I'll do it pretty quickly because this is not what this session is for, but I want to introduce it. So an agent versus agentic AI, I think, again, like the way we've been using AI, people are starting to use the term agent, and they're calling agent for everything. And typically when people are talking about an agent, they're talking about a coach or an assistant. We'll specifically look at that in ChatGPT. In ChatGPT, now they do have a agent mode, but that was just as of July 17th. But an agent is it's a custom built task bot that can do certain things. It's a bit limited. And again, this is an agent in terms of it being a coach or an assistant. However, an actual agentic AI, it's really a systems level decision making, autonomous action, and it works towards a goal. So it acts and it plans by itself. It doesn't need much initiation, and it adapts and it evolves over time. So this is something that I would say if you're not using AI heavily, I would be cautious about getting into agentic AI because it does work with itself over time. And again, I'll talk a little bit more about that later when I'm making the distinction when we're using an agent in Chat GPT. So again, another long list that you have at your disposal. You can look at this later, but this is the Agentic AI platform. So if you see a lot of them kind of go along with something else. So an example of an Agentic AI platform, you could possibly use it if you're using it in agent form. You will not only use it to complete a task, but you would also ask it to do it for you. So for instance, if I was a travel agent and I wanted AI to find all certain trips within a price range, it can do that. And then I wanted to book the cheapest price, it would find the cheapest flight, the cheapest hotel, and then it will book my flight, book the hotel, and then let me know. So there's some safety concerns with that, but that is what fully agentic AI could do. Another example in business could be if you give it a certain set of criteria, it can answer email for you and it can do it autonomously and it can do it for 24 hours as opposed to having a chatbot or something answer email. So those are some of the advantages of agentic AI platforms, and you'll have that. So I want to get into, now that we've talked about looking at certain platforms, now these are tools. And again, probably in generic terms, all of this would be called tools, but the platforms are kind of more of those, big four that we spoke about: Copilot, um, Claude, ChatGPT, and Gemini. But these are content creation tools that Monica and I have explored some. She's done some with these, and so she's going to show a little quick demo. I've explored some. HeyGen is a generated, it's called a talking head, but you can typically make a clone of yourself. So if you have a photo of yourself, if you can put 60 seconds of text speaking in your natural tone, it can create a image of yourself. And part of what I'm working on is creating that clone and then sending it to Zoom meetings. So right now I'm a real live person. I'm here with you today. But if I had my HeyGen clone, I would have my name, but then in parentheses, I would put AI because I would want to fully disclose that that's not specifically me. And it can take notes. So the same way any other system could take notes for you, it would act as me, it would talk as me. And then afterwards, I could have discussion with my AI and ask how the meeting go, and it could give me all the information. Pictory Monica will talk a little bit more about that as well. I'm not sure if she's going to have a chance to demo both, but I do want you to know about that. It can take professional quality photos and text, and you can, have realistic voices and images. And then Gamma is actually what you're seeing right now. So I created this presentation using Gamma. I'll talk a little bit more about this near the end, but there are tools, and some things I want you to walk away with are that these tools are great, but they are very tool specific. It just with anything else, if you had a physical toolbox, there are certain tools you would use if you're fixing certain things. So Gamma, I would use if I was creating a presentation. I wouldn't use Chat GPT. I wouldn't use Claude. I could ask it to make a presentation, but Gamma is specifically powered to do this. What I did with this, I did my presentation, I uploaded what it was and just in text, and it created a presentation for me. I had minimal involvement. I just changed a few photos and changed some things around, but this was done for me within 1 minute. So if we wanted to ever demo that, we could as well, but this is an informal demo, so you're seeing what Gamma does with what it was given, and can also do the same thing with building websites. And then finally, Canva AI. I feel like I put Canva AI here because I use Canva. I used Canva for years. And like with anything else, everything has an AI version of it. So Canva now has an AI assistant that's built into the Canva platform. I don't have any allegiance to recommend or not recommend it, but I would say try it because it doesn't do what Gamma does. It doesn't do it as seamless, but you can use Gamma to tell it what you want, tell the type of presentation you want, and it will build something. I don't feel like it's as good as what Gamma does, but it can do it pretty quickly, and it is interactive, and it is pretty easy to use. And Monica, did you want to demo HeyGen?
Yeah, and I'll give a little background quickly on both HeyGen and Pictory, and I won't share all of the video, but I'll make it available to you if you want to see all of it. But to give you a sense of why or under what conditions might any of these platforms be used. So with HeyGen, what I found myself in terms of being a business leader and being someone that needs to be in multiple places concurrently, I may work with a client that actually wants me in real time, and I show up and I do my real time presentation. But I'm always in search of how do I add more value? How do I extend the contribution that I have given to this partner? Well, I can make now clones of myself in a video that I can have as a leave behind. So it could be a precursor before I come, what you need to know to kind of get ready for the interaction we're about to have, or something as an after action as a leave behind. So HeyGen is actually me. So it's not a made up version of me. It is actually my words. So it takes my voice and mirrors it. And I can either have it create a script. I like to say my own words, so I can upload the words I want to say and just take a still picture that then has me talking. So I'll show you an example, Kim, if we stop sharing with you for 1 second, and then I'll share in a moment just to give people a sense of what this looks like when we do this work together. I can go to the next page. It's a little slower than I am. Okay, hopefully I can open this one and show it to you in real time. Yeah. So this is a HeyGen. So this is me. I uploaded a PowerPoint and this is my picture. It isn't just about leading. It's about learning how to follow strategically. Followership is a powerful force behind any great team. I'm Dr. Monica Moody Moore, and today we explore the importance of followership. Followership is not about being passive or just saying yes. So again, I just wanted to.
Monica, I'm sorry. We just saw the slide. Can you show the HeyGen, or at least, yeah.
Sorry, let me stop sharing and then go back. Sometimes when I toggle, my system doesn't toggle with me, but it sounds like you could hear me maybe. Could you hear but not see? Okay, thank you for saying that, Kim.
We can see. Yes, perfect.
It's just about leading. It's about learning how to follow strategically. Followership is a powerful force behind any great team. I'm Dr. Monica Moody Moore, and today we explore the importance of followership. Followership is not about being passive or just saying yes. Followers are participants who matter as much as leaders. Let me say something about what you're seeing. That was a still image that was uploaded and then made into a talking head, so to speak, so that you could actually see it with movement and not just a still photo with my voice and the PowerPoint underneath of it. So again, I would use this to be able to run faster, go further, be able to show people after an event something that maybe I introduced to them or a deepening of the concept. I want to give you a sense of how best you could use it too. The beauty I've seen with AI is that it gives so many options. You can decide strategically as a leader how best to include or embed. Nothing will, I don't use it as a standalone at all right now. Maybe in the future it can just run on its own. Maybe some people, and Kim can tell me if you do, but I book in everything I do in AI. So for example, even if I use Chat GPT, I'll come up with the concepts first. I'm thinking of blah, 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 and I'll flush it all out. Then Chat GPT will say something. Then I'll come back on Chat GPT and say, that's not what I think, or that's not the direction I would go, or that may be right, but I'm trying to emphasize ABC. I know I mix chat with HeyGen, but the point is these are integrated systems that can build on each other. So you can have one system that functions alone, or you can start to complement systems together as you're doing your work as well. I just wanted to give you a sense of that. And lastly, I'll show another example using the Pictory, and hopefully on your screen you can also see another panelist here, Robert Rollins, who's an IT leader and professional, and I'm calling him out because he introduced me to Pictory. Is my screen going to Pictory now, or do you still see the old screen?
Some people wait for opportunities, while others.
What I find is every time I do that, it doesn't toggle with me.
In today's fast-paced job market, success doesn't just belong. Some people wait for opportunities, while others choose to create them. In today's fast-paced job market, success doesn't just belong to the smartest or most experienced. It often goes to those who act with intention. Career luck isn't random. It results from clarity, bravery, and consistent effort. You have the ability to cultivate luck. You can shape it and create it. Here,
So the reason I wanted to share that is because it allows you to add video to everything, which as I think of my time in higher ed in particular, if I were running an orientation program, for an example, and I want new students to prepare for life on campus, I could make a video about preparing for move-in day. And I have nice imagery. You can use videos from your own catalog. You don't have to use their still images. So Pictory allows you to put video to make things much more dynamic. You can use their voice narration if you want, or you can use your own. So it's just an elevated form I found of like a narrated PowerPoint, for an example. Take your ideas and put it into like storyboard film. There are some disadvantages. I feel that sometimes it feels a little clunky and fragmented. Sometimes when you're not listening to a human and you're listening to a robot, it's a little harder, I have found, these are my personal sentiments, to just keep paying attention. Like the video gets me interested, but the voice doesn't necessarily hold my attention. And maybe as you hear me speak, you hear a little more inflection, a little more dynamic, or so I hope you find. But when I listen to some of these videos, I find them a little more monotone or a little flat in the delivery, which makes me a little less willing to ride it all the way through. Now, I'm giving this remark as a user. I don't have stock in any of these platforms. I wish I did, but if you're listening and you see this and you want to put me on your board, let's talk. But that's not how this is set up. This is not a sales pitch. This is real people giving their honest opinion about how they have utilized the software. So, HeyGen, clone yourself, be able to take your content and slice and dice it in many ways to elongate the utility or to have it as a value add experience, or to use Pictory to add a dynamic nature to something that might otherwise be a little more static. If you go to my YouTube, Pivot on Purpose, you'll find at times I'll have videos like this where I'm talking, sometimes with a PowerPoint, sometimes without. But if I add video to that, I can find that viewership goes up and people are more inclined to watch to the end because it's a little more complemented, a human dynamic with the technology that makes it a little more interesting to watch, like a movie. Kim, back to you, but wanted to give my experience on both HeyGen and Pictory, and Robert Rollins, who's an IT professional. Thank you for introducing that to me.
Thank you for showing that demo. And I think, the same in terms of these are all tools that are at our disposal. And I think one thing to really take note of, this is just the beginning. So right now, some things are a little bit clunky but this is just the beginning. A year from now, these will be seamless. And again, we are showing some tools. There are certain tools that I didn't show, but they're being developed. VO3 is one of them that gives you lifelike videos. But the regular package is like 250 or so a month, and it gives you lifelike videos to a fault, so I think it's important as things move on to kind of see the difference. I can tell now too, because I look at so many of these, I can tell when it's AI generated, but I think we're getting to a point, if we're not already, that you won't be able to really tell. And again, these are consumer end videos that we have, and these are consumer end products, so we're not getting the best of the best. So there are the best of the best that are out there that maybe we can't quite utilize, but they are almost seamless. So just kind of know that for yourself and even for your own protection. I'm an AI positivist, so I truly look at AI as a help, not a harm. But I know there are several, rightly so, people out there that are a bit concerned, and they should be. You can possibly see even now with what you've just seen, if Monica were to call and send me a video of that, I wouldn't necessarily know that it wasn't her. And when she first used HeyGen, she sent me the video and it was her. She was just talking. And so one thing that I've done with my family is that we have a safe word. So if there is any time there's a call or certain things that sounds like, as we always say, well, what's the safe word? Just so that we know. But that's just something just to kind of think about in the context. If you're a little bit apprehensive about some of these content tools, they are out there. They are doing amazing things and almost to the point where you can't tell the difference. So.
And
So
Kim, this may be a fine time to introduce an article and a fabulous person that I've also seen the writings of and I've worked with along the way, Paul McManus. Paul McManus, if anyone's listening to this, look him up. He's at Boston University. And he teaches also in the online MBA at Boston University, which also I take some pride in. But my point about raising it is he just wrote recently, and I'm looking at my notes to make sure I get the title right. It's called Future Ready Leadership, Building to AI Powered Ecosystems. And I have a form that I'll give you with all these like recent articles that I've just been kind of spending some time with to see how the market is receiving and perceiving and utilizing these tools. But the reason I bring up Paul is he says AI is the ecosystem's nervous system. And I thought, AI is the ecosystem's nervous system. Well, you had me at ecosystem, right? You put ecosystem in a sentence and I'm already excited. But you talk about AI being a nervous system, right? I'm also a good girl for metaphors. And I said to ChatGPT, what's a nervous system? Just so I can get ChatGPT to say, what is it? And it starts with a nervous system is essential for functionality. And I thought, well, if AI is the new nervous system of ecosystems, what Paul is saying is AI is going to be an essential entity for all of our systems in an integrated way, or so I perceive his remarks. But I just wanted to flag that article for you, talk about ecosystems. Ecosystems are the new commodity actually for leaders. It's not a go it alone. It's not isolationism. It's creating ecosystems. And how best do you do that using AI to allow you to seamlessly grow and go and build across functionality. Sorry to take so many words to put that out, but I thought the article was so clever that I wanted to make sure I gave it its due. Paul McManus from Boston University.
Yeah, and I love that, and I think it's so critical because this is central. I think that's why, and Monica, true to the wonderful person that you are, that you're giving this webinar for free and sharing it, because this is so central to how we all are living and how we're going to live. And I think it would be a mistake that if there's any type of a little bit of fear or trepidation about what's coming, learn, because it isn't going to stop. And then we can, kind of take it step by step from there, in the same way that there was fear with the internet. I remember my mom and grandma, talking about, I'm not going to put my credit card out there on that net. And it was this, the dark web. And there were some horrible things, and there still are. So I think this is kind of has that same approach and some of the same fears. I think the reason this is so much stronger, and just like you said, this is central. This is essential to how we are going to live, and it's happening so fast. I think that's why there's a little bit more fear, because it's just moving so quickly. And the time that we did this webinar, just in a couple of weeks, ChatGPT created an agent that it didn't have before. So I will continue on,
Well,
but
we can see how this video ages, right? This is
yeah,
recorded. So years from now, we'll look back and say, can you believe?
I'm so curious. I think even by next year, it'll be like, oh yes, some of these things will seem so simple. By next year, hopefully everyone is using agentic AI with good knowledge, and hopefully there are safeguards that leaders are putting in place for
Yeah,
that.
for sure.
So this is my world a bit, and I won't share too much, but I just want you to see what some of these tools are. These are some academic research tools because, again, you can't, this is so central to how we are living. Not using academic research tools would be like, I don't know if anybody remembers something called the Dewey Decimal System. That's before we had the internet. You would go to the library to kind of look at things. Not using an academic research tool for academic research would almost be like not using the internet to look into research. So these are some academic research tools. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time with them, but I just wanted you to know that they're out there. This is 5 that I picked out because I use them all the time, but this is 5 out of like 50. But I do want to highlight these, one, because I'm a part of the ChatGPT EDU, and it's been developed across different institutions. We're going to see how Virginia Tech lands with this. Perplexity Pro, probably one of my favorites. It does research. It gives you real valid sources. SciSpace, it is my favorite. So SciSpace is my favorite because it does everything that Perplexity can do. It does academic research, but it will also help you chat with the PDF or whatever article you have. So if you have an article and you wanted to ask the article questions, you can literally chat with the article. It does a lit review, it annotates, and it does site generation, which typically there were like other things you use for it to do your site. So SciSpace does everything in one. And one thing it does too that it doesn't highlight, but I've used it for my class, it can take any content you have and put it as a podcast. I use that feature with my students. Some of the chapters in their online book, I created all those into a podcast. So if they were working out or doing something else, they could listen to the chapters in addition to reading. Again, I don't see this as replacing, but just as having another tool. Notebook LM does something very similar. One of my colleagues, he puts everything in Notebook LM. It has a podcast for all of his books, but it also does note taking. It uploads documents, shares information across websites and media files. So those are just some academic research tools I want you to have in addition to some of the content creation. So now I want to move into prompt optimization. This is probably one of the most important things that I would say today if you're just getting started with any type of AI or any type of platform. This goes for Claude, Gemini, Copilot, ChatGPT, any platform you're using where you're asking AI to do something. This is the best way to put in a prompt. Your prompt is kind of the equivalent of GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. So if you want to get the best out of your AI, if you want to stop the hallucinating, if you want it to give you what you want, these are the prompts that I recommend. This is a part of the handout that Monica will also give. But one of the main things is AI wants to be a role. It wants to play a role, so it has something that it can take from to answer your question. So one of the role-based prompts that I use whenever I'm giving a prompt is that you are an expert in whatever the field is. Given this situation, I will give it the context. What would you recommend? So as opposed to using AI like Google and just say, what are the 12 elements? What are certain things? Ask it, you are an expert in health and wellness. I want you to give me all of the micros and macros I should have per day, given my weight and height, and how much walking I should do based on optimizing my heart rate. But the first thing I'm going to do is tell it that you are an expert in this area, and then what it would recommend. So if you don't remember anything else, this is probably the most important thing to do to get the most out of any AI that you're using. The second type of prompt optimization is a step-by-step prompt. Some people call it chain of thought, but chain of thought is also used in different ways. But just to break this into two things, if you're giving AI, ChatGPT or any of the other platforms a prompt, ask it to break it down into clear steps and then to perform each task one by one. That way you know that it's not going to hallucinate. You see the thought process. And it's funny, even as I'm saying this now, this is almost outdated because when you're using something like Claude typically does give you what it's thinking, how it does it. When you're using Perplexity, it literally tells you exactly what it's doing and it gives you the code as it's doing it. But this is still a good prompt. Probably even better. One thing that I use all the time at the end of anything that I'm writing, I'll say, ask me clarifying questions until you're 95% confident you can complete the task successfully. So in addition to giving it a role base and telling it what I want, and then at the end of my prompt, I'll say, ask me these questions until you know you can complete this task. So it takes a little while, but at least I know I'm going to get an in-depth answer. I'm going to get the information that I need. And then finally, just something that it can either be fun or it can be very strategic in business, but reframing or perspective shifting prompts. So let's say you want to know what another company is thinking, or you want to know how an opposing party thinks, put in your prompt, reframe this issue in a way that reveals a hidden opportunity that I may be missing. So put in what you think. If you have a certain campaign that you're doing and you know that you want to say these things, sometimes we can kind of forecast and maybe predict what other people may say, or it kind of overcome objections. But ask AI in advance. What could someone overcome? Another way to say this is challenge my current approach to this strategy by offering a radically different lens. So this way you can anticipate what someone might say and hopefully maybe have an answer. So those are three important prompts that I use all the time when I'm using.
I have a question. Have
Yes.
you seen it ask you questions back? Like once you put in there, ask me clarifying questions, how far does it go with the asking of the questions?
to to a fault. So I put in here 95% until it's
Mm,
95% sure. Sometimes I'll put your 80% sure. Because it'll keep on asking questions, but I love it because it really gets at sometimes it helps me know that I didn't really ask the question right by the question that it's asking me. But this is a way that I've almost, I mean, and I can't give a scientific number, but I feel like in the past 6 months, I've hardly had any hallucinations because I use these prompts and because it's adaptive, it gets to know me. So it kind of answers in a way that I've trained it to respond. Not the content, but just in a way that's thorough, complete, and that facts checks.
Right. And from the user perspective, I've frequently said to ChatGPT, picking up on what Kim has already told me in days gone by, to act like an expert or act like an industry leader or whatever. So I prompt it in terms of the thinking, but I also get it to just oppose views from one area to another so that I can find the gaps in the middle. So I will prompt it to be that kind of investigator to, just oppose itself with other views so that I'm not being too singular in my understanding of something as well. Last thought, I have seen a lot of typos, particularly as I've asked ChatGPT for infographics or things like that. So just proceed with caution. Maybe I'm the only one and I'm using 4.0. So I have seen quite a few typos. So if you're using it, don't take it at face value without fact checking everything. You can use the the Q&A section, guys. If you have questions, you can just put those in the Q&A as Kim is rounding up her last 15 minutes.
And Monica, please interrupt me if there's any questions and I can take.
Yeah, you're doing good and no questions are in there right now.
Okay, perfect. So I
Yeah.
want to spend the last 15 minutes on a little bit of hands-on. I kind of pre-prompted something so that we can make the best use of time. But the next thing I do want to talk about are custom GPTs. This is only a feature in Chat GPT, but other platforms have a little bit of a version of it. And I did want to make sure that I put this in there. A GPT, because you hear it so much, is a generative pre-trained transformer. That's what GPT means. And so these are trained on large data sets. We are going to make our own GPT in the next 5 minutes. They're temporary, they're goal-oriented, and they're temporary because they should be there really for your protection. It prevents the AI to learn from the data that you're giving it. Unless you have the pro version, if you have the pro version of ChatGPT, then you can ask it to retain that information. You have to change your memory setting in the pro version, but it is made to forget the information after you've used it, but the GPT stays the same. And then again, I want to reiterate, these are not agents. People call them agents, but they're really coaches or assistants, but they're custom GPTs and they don't act autonomously, and they do pursue goals, but not over time and not by themselves. So we are going to create a GPT. I've crafted some language and I'm going to actually do a demo of that. Before I do that, I do want to show the difference between a GPT and a project. Several platforms, oh, I shouldn't say several, but two for certain, three even that I use all the time, but ChatGPT and Claude, they have a project. So this is a structured workspace where you can organize your content, revisit conversations, put in files and tools. And the key difference between a project and a GPT is that the project will persist over time. And I would say a project is more so like having a folder of information and giving it to someone so they always have this work to work from. And then having an GPT would be like doing a position description and hiring someone to do a task. So once that person leaves, they take the information with them, but you can always ask that person to do a task. So with that said, here are some use cases. I just wanted to, we talked about these in a little bit in some ways, but these are some use cases you can use if you're using ChatGPT. We don't have time to actually demo that, but I
We'll just say with the market research piece, I said I would
yes,
chime in
please.
on that in particular. And it's very helpful whether you're small business, you're in higher ed, any industry, and you just want to do some discovery, exploratory work. It's phenomenal in that, in terms of just getting some baseline understanding. You can decide how far you want to go with it, but in terms of market research, discovery, and basic elements, it's kind of like your search for college search, right? You use your list to kind of start the process, maybe not to finish it, but to certainly get started. Mhm.
Thank you so much. And some of the other things, content creation, we talked about, and some other productivity, and we'll get to some of those things as well. So right now we're going to I don't know if we have time to at least create our GPT. I don't know if we'll have time to use Claude for synthesis, and we've already looked at HeyGen or Pictory for content creation. But this particular exploration we're going to do, we're going to act like ChatGPT. We're going to give it a role as a grant reviewer, someone that monitors and summarizes grants, and to public and to scan. So we're just going to do that. I've created kind of a pre um, the I've created a little bit of pre-work just to use it here. So these are my GPTs. I'm going to go in and create a new GPT. And I've already done some of this so that here is where you would these are all the GPTs. So I have the EDU version, so it doesn't have all the GPTs, but there's several. They have it for writing, productivity, lifestyle. There's so many you could choose from. And but if you want to create something that's, for grants and you don't see it there, then let's create our own. I've created some of my own, and then we're going to create a GPT by going to create. And then we're going to literally just talk to it. So I am going to, I'm going to go to create, we'll go to configure later, but I'm going to create, I'm just going to talk to it. I have already built some text here, and I'm going to copy and paste the text. I guess I'll kind of show both. I can talk about the text, but I can also copy and paste it. And for the sake of time, I will just copy and paste it. So this is the text. This is what I wanted to do. I could have also used the microphone and said this, but I want to find grants. And I just did this very casual. I want to find grants that are relevant to my organization that can support AI integration, learning and development, monitor and summarize grant opportunities based on keywords, and automatically scan public funding sources, track deadlines, summarize RFPs, and draft a proposal outline. So this is just what I wanted to do. I'm creating an agent, a GPT, to do this. And it's going to update my GPT and may ask me a follow-up question. And I'm in model 4.0. When I'm using it, typically, I would use 4.5 if I'm using it for research. It's giving me a name. It's called Grant Scout for AI. That name is fine, but I'm going to actually call it Grant Navigator.
And Kim, as you're doing this, I think you can answer the question with the user case that you're doing here. There's a question in the chat that comes from someone who was an executive director and CEO of a nonprofit for a long time and has been phenomenal in that space, and wants to know, when you're using ChatGPT, do you just use it to structure your project, but still have to shape and customize the project with your style and tone? Because you're doing a Chat GPT and you're showing us in real time. So maybe you can address how to make it customizable to your voice and tone and style and approach. Or
Absolutely.
he's wondering if you just use it to kind of start the project, but not to customize it.
Both. So right now, because we're just doing this, I'm creating this. It already created a little profile for me. It gave me a name, but I wanted a different name. So it's going to do that for me, and I'm going to create it. like you were saying too, with anything, you always want to go in and customize and make it your own. But honestly, when you see what it does a lot of this for you already, because depending on how long you've been using your particular system, it adapts and it kind of knows you. My chat, I've been using this for a year and a half. It knows me, so I don't have to customize as much. If you're creating certain GPTs or certain projects, you can upload, like for my career development, um I have my CV, I have some of my work, so it answers things as I would. I have a colleague that I work with. I'm doing some one-on-one things with her. She has a book. She's writing some other things. She uploaded her book and some of her other writing, so it has a sample of things that she does. So to answer the question pretty quickly, yes, you do need to customize it, but the more it gets to know you and the more you're using it, the less customization you would need. But I would say play with it. We're going to see in about 2 minutes what this does based on what I gave it two sentences. I answered a little question. It gave me a little picture. I said I wanted a different name, and I'm going to say that I'm good with this. So I'm going to say yes, that works, and it's going to configure this whole thing. So it's what kind of grants opportunities do I want it to avoid? And so I knew it would ask something like that. So I don't want it to show me anything that's um predatory. So I'm going to put that in my answer here. And again, so part of maybe what you're asking too, it's kind of customizing it as I'm building it by asking me some of these things too. Okay, and I want it to be more formal and professional because these will be RFPs at some point. It's updating. And again, everyone's GPT won't do this, but it's so used to me telling it to ask me clarifying questions, it's asking me this. Okay, so it tells me that I can try it out if I wanted to refine anything else. I'm just going to say that's good. So I'm going to go over to this side. As you can already see, it's already told me what type of GPT it created, and it has me find certain things, and I'm going to go ahead and create it. I'm going to just keep it private. And I know I have about 5 minutes, so I'm going to view my GPT. So this is my GPT. I can ask it anything. We don't have time to really ask it anything because we only have about 5 minutes, but I do want to show you what it did on the back end. After I put that information in, I want to show you the back end of what it actually created. So I'm going to show you the configure. So we did the create. That's when I was asking all the questions, answering those. From that, it configured all of this information. It wrote exactly what the instructions are. I didn't give it all that instructions. It wrote it, and then we could actually find grants. So I'm just going to pick one of the prompts that it gives me, and we'll see what it does. And then I'm going to end with that so that you saw a little bit of things. I do want to end with ethics, but I'm just going to just click on one of these just so you can see what it does. Um, and I'm just going to click on one of the suggestions that it said, find current grants for AI in education. So it's going to take a little while. Start searching the web, is looking for things. I just want you to see what it comes up with. And it gives me all the grants, some of the deadlines, all the information here, and I can go through and refine and ask questions, and then and then it gives me a table of what it is, how much it is. And so I could go in and ask for the RFPs, and then it asks if I wanted to draft an outline for any of these grants. So that just because of time, I'm going to skip that, and I'm going to go back to the presentation just to end. But if there are any questions, that does give a pretty good idea of what a GPT can do and how fast. I mean, I think that took about 5 to 7 minutes, but in a presentation, we created a GPT that could really be powerful if you're looking for grants. And then it would just be a matter of time of that GPT actually creating an outline, a presentation, in the RFP so that I could go in and apply for that grant. And again, we did this very, very fast, but I just wanted you to see some of the capabilities pretty quickly. So just getting down to the ethics and leadership, we've said some of these things, but I want to highlight out of everything. One of the main things you may have heard this term, but if not, you will hear it first here today is HITL, keep humans in the loop. So anything you're doing, make sure that you are the last reviewer, hopefully the first and the last. And then just be very careful about anything that involves your finances or your identity without your review first. Just ethically told, compelled to tell you that. And then AI slop, you've seen this, Monica, you kind of made mention of it, but it's the equivalent of digital fast food. You've seen it, it's low quality. Typically there's spelling errors, there's some type of hallucination, but it's low quality, inaccurate AI content. This is some examples. So you may have seen some of this on YouTube, or you may have seen things that look like this, but this is a very common picture of what AI slop looks like. And I want to leave you with 3 things. So highly effective habits of a powerful AI user. A power user is use AI to get better at AI. Anything you don't know, the question that was asked, you could put into AI, do I need to add my own customization after you finish this project for me? Use multiple platforms. I was talking a lot, but I mentioned all those platforms and I share this with you because I think you should use them all together. Use ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Copilot, because then you'll see what you like, what does things differently. I think Claude is better for analytics. I think ChatGPT is better for some generic things. And then use it in iteration. So it's not the final design, like Monica said. You know, you want to have your ideas, maybe draft something, use it to refine it, and then make sure that you are the final designer. So in 1 minute, quickly, these are the key takeaways. Use it to enhance, not replace. Remember our HITL, keep a human in the loop. Start small and be curious. And I leave you with, I would love to know what you plan to try first.
Wow.
Thank you
We
for
got through all that in 1 hour.
Ah,
Kimberly,
and
amazing.
1 minute over.
We said that this was the start, right? It's introductory, it's exploratory. In order to be smart, you have to be knowledgeable. So we start with the knowledge base, ensure we have clarification of terms and we know where we can go and where we choose to invest, because these are all about, it's all about decisions that as leaders we get to make. A last question that was in the chat is, Kim, do you think that these things are, you know, resumeable or credentials that college grads should kind of seek to have on their resume to say that they're AI certified or have some type of digital badge in this space?
100 million%. And I know that we're past time, so for anyone that has to go, I understand. Definitely, we coach our students. We have our career services. We have AI integrated CV builders or resume builders, and we ask AI to integrate it into what they're experiencing. And anyone that doesn't have it on their resume, if they're just starting out, or their CV, they're really behind, especially our students who are graduating. So that's not even a question. It's just a part of what they do. Our students are using this. So my goal is to use it responsibly. I have some colleagues that don't let them use any type of AI in their class. I don't. I encourage them because they're going to use it anyway. I want them to use it well, and I want them to use it to enhance what they're already doing. And I've just seen some amazing things that I don't even have time to talk about. But I have brilliant students. They've created, you can create an app in 15 minutes using an AI platform. So they've created businesses. I have so many students that have their own businesses using AI. They use agents as their employees. So yes, very long answer to say yes, absolutely. And I would, just as a test case, I would upload my CV in a platform like AI, like ChatGPT or any other Claude or anything else. And I would say integrate AI capabilities based on what I know about AI and see what it does. And again, you can refine it. There's some other better career builder apps or tools that you can use to enhance your CV, to add different sections depending on what job you're doing. But I would definitely integrate how you are using AI. And because I would recommend that you get started in learning. I don't think you have to get a certification. I would actually be careful because there's so many, because AI is such a big thing now. There are so many things that are out there that says, come get AI certified, and it's just a money grab. So I will be careful in doing anything that's that you see online, but anything valid from your institution or a trusted institution that you can just take a class and just train yourself. If they have a type of certification, I 1,000,000% recommend that.
Great. And do connect with Kim. She is on LinkedIn. So start to form new relationships. I started off this session saying Kim and I met over a decade ago at a conference. So can you meet someone and become a friend for life? Yeah, we think you can. And we've already tested that. So again, connect with Kim. Also, please connect with me and High Aspirations. We'll put this video on my YouTube channel so it'll be publicly available, and we'll send slides for anyone who wants those as well. Thank you so much for your time today, and please share the information so we can all learn and grow and go together. Thanks again.
Thanks.
Bye, Kim. Thank you for your
Bye.
time.
See ya.
Thank you, Robert.